Hi guys, it's Hannah, and today I'm going to be talking to you about caffeine addiction for my persuasive speech. Now, I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the other. I'm just trying to persuade you in how the caffeine affects your daily lives. So caffeine has a lot of factors to deal with, such as all-night studying sessions that are basically fueled by caffeine. According to Aguilera in Caffeine Mental Health and Psychiatric Stores, very little attention is paid to the fact that about 80% of the population voluntarily and routinely manipulate their minds to caffeine usage. And it's kind of like a drug just because of how addictive it is. And that's a huge majority of people that use it in their daily lives. And I'm sure most of us has had coffee one time in our life, or some people use it every day just to wake them up. Me personally, I just love Caribou coffee and energy drinks. I don't really drink it all the time. It's just whenever I feel like it's a good day and I want to have something to energize me more. Now, the problem with all of this is that the actual side effects of larger amounts of caffeine abuse are very poorly documented. So I'm going to go over some negative side effects of caffeine abuse and some of the reasons people tend to overdo with caffeine and some fun ways you can reduce caffeine. So to begin, let's look at some of the possible side effects of caffeine. Caffeine intoxication is something that we've all probably experienced at some point of our lives. We've all had to work long shifts or work at nights when we don't really want to, or just something that just drags and we don't feel like we want to do something because we don't have the energy for it. So also with going to school, I know a lot of us didn't want to go to school just because we hate waking up in the mornings, feeling so tired. So our substitute for that would just be caffeine or some type of coffee or whatever. We just want to be relaxed, and so you just need something to get you through the day that might be just less stressful. These are some situations where a little bit of caffeine can go a long way to getting you through the day or whatever that might be stressful for you in your life. Jeffrey Eric Strand and Roland Griffins of the Johns Hopkins School state that some of the symptoms of caffeine intoxication include nervousness, anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, or tremors. And now, everyone is different the way that they consume coffee or caffeine. So these are just some of the side effects that you might have. So none of these are really helpful when you're trying to be productive. So the abuse of it and how much you consume affects of your body and mind. Caffeine withdrawal, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. It is massive. It's that massive crash you experience when you've been using caffeine for long periods of time, and you never really give yourself a break. It builds up in your system into always thinking that you need it, which if you constantly drink caffeine, your body all of a sudden just stops and just reeling because suddenly it doesn't have this chemical that it's so used to having, and it just causes all sorts of problems in your body. According to Laura Golding and Roland Griffins and Psychopharmacy, that's about regular use of caffeine reduces physical dependence. And that can be seen in some of the withdrawal symptoms such as fatigue, headache, nausea, and flu-like symptoms. And when I say headache, I mean it's more of a throbbing. It's not more of a tension headache. It's more of a pounding headache. That's what I usually get if I drink coffee so much and then all of a sudden I stop. But a similar question I came across is, why do we use caffeine and why can it be so harmful? Well, the simple fact that it keeps us going for a lot of us, and this is how we get through our day, which is pretty obvious. And that's what gets us up in the morning to be more productive human beings. That's what we all are. So if we use extra energy, it's incredibly accessible. So in town, there's so many coffee places that you can go to on your way to work or on your way to school or anywhere that you have to go. You can always get it on the way. It's in coffee and virtually in every soda we drink. So mostly energy drinks have caffeine. Not every single energy drink has them, but these are a few negative side effects that if we use in moderation. I mean, if you have 1 cup of coffee, you feel energized and you work harder, essentially ready for the day. That's kind of how I feel. Like if I want coffee, I have a small amount because I know that if I drink too much, I start shaking and I just feel really energized and I can't like focus in school. But there's also some health benefits to this. So using coffee regularly, according to Catherine Triber in Psychology Today, regular coffee or caffeine use can actually restore and preserve memory in Alzheimer's patients too as well. So caffeine is very useful. The problem comes that it's so useful and tempting to overdo it. You have 1 cup of coffee and feel great, but when you have 5, you just feel amazing. You just want to go, and that's just where it gets like addicting because you don't know your limits and you don't know how to stop. It's kind of like any drug addiction or abuse that you use. So it's kind of like teaching your brain something of a bad habit, which I'll get into. So those are some reasons people tend to overdo it with caffeine. There are good ways to reduce our dependence on caffeine, and maybe chugging our 5th espresso is not the best option. We all know changing our habits is hard, and we all know, we all know that even bad habits can be so much. But it doesn't, some people feel like if they quit coffee, it's going to affect their bodies. Yes, it's going to affect your bodies, but to a point of how much you consume in a day or on a regular basis. So it might depend on your body, like how much effort you have to distract yourself with. And so caffeine doesn't really work that way. Caffeine dependence is something that we can change. Now, the way caffeine works is really sciencey and involve words as neuroreceptor and a lot of psychological words. And so basically, if you don't give your brain a pause and you don't give it time to like heal in a sense, your brain essentially never gets to relax. And so that's what causes your brain to have all these things going on when you're drinking coffee, and it just makes you go, but once you stop, your brain just stops and it just shuts down essentially. Like it just doesn't know how to react to what you're doing. So to change these habits from getting tired while you're working at night or anything from school, you can, so like if you have a school assignment, you should start on it right away. That's because the longer you procrastinate, the more you're going to stay up for it. And so that's what causes you to want caffeine in the morning, is because you're so tired for staying up for doing an assignment or something that needs to be done the next day. Second is proper nutrition. So when it comes to nutrition, Sydney Muffin, staff writer for the Baxter Health Center, said that a balanced diet and plenty of fluids can boost energy levels and reduce our dependence on caffeine. Like Cheetos and 7-Up aren't exactly healthy, but you get my point. So thirdly is exercise. Now this might be a problem for a lot of us. Like for me, I like to be lazy and watch movies all day, but if you get the right exercise, essentially it balances out the caffeine that you get. So like when you don't get a lot of exercise and you drink a lot of coffee, it changes your body to think that you don't need to go outside because you already felt energized, and then once you come off that caffeine high, then you just feel groggy, your eyes just feel droopy, and you don't really want to. It's more of a self-motivation, if that makes sense. So like for myself, I do get very lazy, like I said, and I want to relax instead of doing homework or working. But any type of exercise has many health benefits to it, and in addition, it'll get your mind of what you're doing and let you have and let you come back with a fresh start. So like I said, it might be a substitute for caffeine if you go out and do that, like any exercise. And it can distract your mind from caffeine too. So coffee dependence doesn't rule your life, and some of those ways that can reduce our dependence is caffeine. It's important to remember that caffeine is a drug. Caffeine is a drug, and its side effects, and it's best used in small quantities in moderation. Caffeine is a part of our culture, and it's psychic culture stimulant, and it affects our daily lives. So to sum this all up, in conclusion, consumption of caffeine can cause not insomnia, anxiety, headaches, but it can also increase memory, and the amount consumed and how often you use it and drink it can also affect your body and the way that it's used. So yeah.